I will be demoing our new workflow features, which are basically used to automate your apps without using code. So, so my name is Deb. I'm the developer team lead in the customer success team, and I will be walking you through our new action builder. Again, if you have any questions or you want to share any suggestions, please put it in the Q&A section in the Zoom. So what is an action? So an action can be used to execute any number of steps in a workflow. For example, when a user submits a form and they want to send a push notification to all the users. This is an example of a simpler action because it only has one uh, step in the workflow, but you could have any number of steps in the workflow. You may want to send, when a user submits a form, you may want to send a push notification to all users and maybe send an email or update something in the data source. So what have we built? So what we've built is we basically built an AI-powered workflow builder, which will be, you'll basically be able to create actions by chatting with an AI chatbot, basically. And we have created a bunch of triggers where actions or workflows that are triggered by those specific events. There are a long list of triggers available. Some examples include click of a button or submitting a form or something gets updated in a data source or entered in a data source. What are the benefits of this? So you can now create complex workflows with no code inside your app. AI will do all the heavy lifting. It'll be able to create, edit, and delete the actions for you. Although if you do need more functionality, then you can add your own functions in. So I want to show you a quick demo of this. I'll be demoing some common scenarios that we've seen our users use. Some of the scenarios include sending a push notification and an email to relevant users when the content is submitted, updating an entry when the done button is clicked in an LFD detail view, which could be like a list of tasks, personalizing the home screen, and actually also using AI to process some data. So this is our AI chatbot. It's basically completely powered by AI. And I want to ask the first question, which is kind of the first scenario that I mentioned, which is I'd like to create an action that sends a push notification and an email. And the notification will be sent when the content form is submitted. So let me send that to AI. Now, I expect that AI will basically ask me some follow-up questions. So here we go. So to create this action that sends both a push notification and an email, it'll need some information from me. It needs, looks like a data source, name, who and what should be in the email, and who the push notification to be sent to, and what is the message of the push notification. So I'm going to supply it with this information. I'm going to say the data source name will be called content, and the email content, I'd like it to say this in the message. And in the push content, I like it to say this in the message. So let's send that over to AI and see what it comes back with. So it's summarizing the details of the action it's going to create. The trigger is when a new record is created in the data source called content, and it will run two functions, one which will send an email with this message and a push notification with this message. It also needs an email. For this, I will just put my email in. And now we will wait for AI. Now AI should basically give us a summary of what action it's going to create. So here is the full thing that it's going to create. It's given it a name. The trigger is when the record is created in the data source, and the functions are sending an email to me with this message, or sending a notification to all the app users with this message. So it says, "Are you happy for this configuration?" Say yes. So now AI will basically go and create this action for you in the background. So while we wait for it to do this, once it's done this, so which looks like it's done. So, and here's a summary of the action that it has created. So let's try and give it a go. So this is like a sample content screen that I have mocked up. You might have like a newsfeed of data, and you may want to add new content to that newsfeed with the title and the content. So this is just an example. I will submit this content, and as you can see, I've got a push notification delivered to me right here in Studio. I'm not going to show you the email because I think we all know what emails look like, but I want to show you my next demo. So coming back to the chatbot, um, the second example that I mentioned was basically I would like to create an action that updates a data source entry when a button in the detail view is clicked. So AI has asked a few follow-up questions about more data it needs. It needs the name of the data source that has the entry in it, any criteria about how the data source entry should be updated, whether I'd like to perform any additional actions. So I am going to say that the data source I like it to update is a tasks data source, and I'd like to update the status column to done. So let's pass that over to AI. Um, it's now returned a summary of what it's going to do. Um, so I think this is all I need for now. So I will ask AI to basically create the action for me. Um, Here it's summarized the configuration. So the trigger type will be when a button is clicked in the detail of an LFD. And then there's a data source name called tasks, and it will update that entry's status column to done. So everything looks good to me, so I'm going to confirm that. And AI has now summarized what it has created. So if you have, let's say, an LFD of tasks, I've just created some sample task here. You can see that there's a travel to London office task with a status not started. And if I click update status, it should refresh. And now the status is marked as done. So um, for the next demo, so far the two demos that I've showed you are kind of scenarios that I already know what I want. But what about a scenario where you don't really know what you could possibly do with something? So I know that I want to personalize my home screen for the logged in user, but I don't really know what else I could do with it. So let's just ask AI and see if it has any suggestions. So AI should look through the app and give some useful suggestions of what it can deliver to you. Um, let's give it a second. Um, so one of the things that we basically are able to do are so AI is basically now scanned through the entire system, and it said these are the things it can do. It can update the logged in users, or it can get the logged in users information like their name or any other information. It can also update the UI, which is useful to us because we'd like to personalize the home screen. What it's suggesting is basically when the page loads, um, we can do something with the logged in users details. Um, I think I like the sound of that. So what I want is I like to show the logged in user's name on the homepage. So let's ask it to do that. Uh, Now, what it'll say is, okay, so the trigger will be on load. It'll be a client-side trigger when the page is loaded, and it'll use the function to go get the logged in user's name, uh, and it's asking for what is the key for the name. So the key is uh, first first name, and I'll also want to um, yeah. So basically here, it's said it's created the trigger and the function which will get the logged in user's first name and display the name on the home screen. Yeah, that all looks good. So I'm going to ask AI to create it for me. Um, it should go ahead and do that. And here we go. So it's a summary of what is created. It's the actions triggered when the home page loads, and then it'll fetch the logged in user's first name with the key first name and display it on the home screen. So if you go to the home screen, you'll see I've made up a little home screen here, and my name is now fetched in from me being logged into the app. And for our last demo, I would actually like to use AI in my workflow. So one of the things that are common we see our users do is that they want to use AI to analyze some sort of data in a data source and maybe have it sent to them as well, maybe via email. So why don't we just tell AI that? So I'm going to say I'd like to email an AI generated report from a data source that is sent every Monday at 9 a.m. I assume AI will have more questions about this. As you can see, it's asked for a few more details. So I'm going to say data source is a user's data source, and I want an email to myself. Um, so let's see what AI asks after this. Um, as you can see, one of the things is so the trigger will be to run at Monday at 9 a.m. And the function that will query the user's data source to generate the report, and it will send the generated report to this. So this looks good to me. So I'm gonna ask AI to build this up for me. And here it's got the few functions that I need to complete this task listed out. And yeah, you can see that it has now created this action for me. Obviously, we can't test it now because this will run Monday at 9 a.m. But I think you get the idea. I've shown you a couple of examples, but what can you really use this for? So basically, actions can run server side and they can also actually run on the client side. So server-side actions are used when you want to run something on the server side, especially on a schedule, which will run in the background, so you don't have to be there in the app. You could also do it when you're interacting with a screen or app data. This can kind of be done offline or online, depending on the scenario. And you can even interact with the server from the client side as well. Some examples of what this could look like. You could want to integrate with a REST API, for example, Workday or Foundation. This will likely run on the server side because you want it to run in the background and have the data sort of integrating in the background. You could decide to send push or email notifications. There's obviously a variety of scenarios where this could happen. Some of the examples include like submitting a form. When a form is submitted, send an email or something, or you want to send something specific to a certain group of people like admins when they perform certain tasks. On a schedule, as we said, a weekly report. You could also use it to join data from another data source into an LFD. But those of you who know, our LFD by default connects to one data source, so you might want to join in data similar to our directory template. You could also personalize a screen with the logged in users details, as I've just shown you. And you could also show and hide form fields based on user input. This could look something like maybe you have a form where a user selects like some sort of maybe a gender that they are, and then more form fields would show based on that selection, like male or female options, basically. So if this is of interest to you and you want to get early access to this, you want to help us, you want to provide feedback and help improve the feature, especially if you're regularly using code to build additional features in Fliplet, then please type builder in the Q&A option and someone will reach out and help you with that.